Two new champions were crowned. We had a huge new debut, and what went down with the stadium stampede. I'm Joe from Broforce, and this is your AEW Double or Nothing 2020 review.
This is Angel Garza from WWE, and you are watching the Bro Force.
Alright, so we started the show, the buy-in, with the Best Friends versus Private Party. This match was a number one contenders match for the AEW Tag Team Championships, currently held by Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. This match, I'll be honest, it was kind of sloppy. There was quite a few botches, but I have something to blame for that. I blame Trent's headband for falling off, because I'll be honest right now, I did not write many notes for this show like I usually do for all the other shows because this show was just so enjoyable. So I don't have much written down. And for the longest time, the only thing I had written in my notes was Trent's headband came off. That's all really I had there. And then I had the match order. But yeah, it was a pretty sloppy match, unfortunately. But it did not take away from the match. It was pretty good. The Best Friends came out victorious, so they are now the number one contenders, who were the Dark Order, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, but they are stuck in Canada due to the pandemic because they can't travel right now. So they were 5-0, but they are currently not number one contenders because of that, which is kind of unfortunate because they were on a roll. But yes, eventually we will have Best Friends versus Hangman on Page and Kenny Omega, which I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hope Best Friends win because they've been tearing it up recently. They've been really good, and I would not be mad. I really like Kenny and Hangman together, but I'm not going to be mad if, and I'll even say it now, if and when the Best Friends take the titles off of both of them. Alright, so that was all we had for the buy-in, but I am going to mention one more thing that happened on the buy-in. So, the commentary team for the buy-in was Excalibur and Taz, as it usually is, I'm pretty sure. But when they came out to announce the other members of the announced team, Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone, Excalibur made it clear that Taz had to go handle some business. And in the opening match, we had the casino ladder match, and this was really good. But because of what Excalibur said, I assumed that it would be Taz in the ladder match preventing Darby Allin from winning. But I wasn't extremely wrong, but we'll get to that. So, fortunately, let me say, I'm not sure if I said this in the predictions video, but number one was Frankie Kazarian, and number two was none other than Scorpio Sky. So we had two SU members going at it. At first they ran for the ladders, but then they pushed them away. They didn't want the hardware. They decided to fight instead. They wanted to prove themselves to each other, I guess, in a way. But yeah, it was pretty good. And then third was Kip Sabian. I'm not going to go through all the order, but it was really good. Like if you guys are watching this review because you didn't watch it, I suggest you find a way to watch it because that's how good this was. It was probably one top 5 matches in AEW, I think. But finally comes number 9, the mystery competitor. The countdown goes, and you hear who can stop the wrath of the cage or something like that. But it was in Taz's voice, and Taz came out. He came out, but who came out with him afterwards? Brian Cage, the Machine. He's not a man, he's a machine. I got chills from this, okay? I am a huge Brian Cage fan. I know him, I don't really watch Impact, but I knew him from Lucha Underground, which first season of Lucha Underground I hated him for some reason, but second season I started coming around and really liking him. But if you guys have never seen Brian Cage, you are in for a treat. But Brian Cage came out and he became destructive. He took out everybody in the match until they all started ganging up on him, and they covered him with the guardrails and even the big casino chips, the poker chips, and they covered him in them for a long time. and he was stuck under there. He got people thrown on him. I think Orange Cassidy got a Death Valley driver onto him from Joey Janela. But yeah, this was really good. And then we got eventually Luchasaurus and Brian Cage in the ring together, and that was just spectacular. And I've been going on a rant recently about how I really, really, really want Luchasaurus versus Wardlow. Now I want Wardlow versus Brian Cage, and I still want Wardlow versus Luchasaurus, but I also want a full singles match between Brian Cage and Luchasaurus. Hell, even make it a triple threat match. I don't care. But Darby Allin was getting close to winning. Then Taz came out again because he wasn't in the corner for the whole match, and he guided Cage and told him to take out Darby. And there was a little botch, but it was easily fixed. And I can guarantee you, he took out Darby for that match. And this is probably going to be the first feud for Brian Cage with Darby Allin. But Brian Cage did win the Casino Ladder match, so he has a future opportunity against John. Oh, spoiler alert! Future AEW World Championship match against the AEW champion. I don't know how this is going to go down. If this is like he picks the day or it's scheduled, but I guess we'll find out. Good match. I'd give this match like it was probably the best match on the show, maybe. And I would also like to mention how terrified, how scared I am of Darby Allin not being scared. Because at one point there was a spot, I think it was him and Kazarian. I don't really remember. But Darby Allin went all the way to the top of the tallest ladder they had with a skateboard, with who I believe was Frankie Kazarian on a ladder. And he decided to jump, and he just jumped straight through the ladder with the skateboard. And it looked like he hurt his leg pretty significantly, but fortunately he didn't. But I'm scared of him not being scared. All right. Hopefully he doesn't take too many risks. Hopefully he thinks about it a little bit more sometimes, because that one looked pretty bad. And then we moved on to MJF versus Jungle Boy, probably the least hyped up match, I guess, on Double or Nothing. What people thought was the most predictable, I believe, and it was really good. It had a nice old school feel with these young guys in here, with these very new school guys. It had a pretty old school feel to it, surprisingly. They had a really good match. I was way more than I was expecting. Um, it was a pretty technical match. There wasn't excessive high flying or anything like you would expect from Jungle Boy, but I would say this is MJF's best match yet. I really enjoyed this match, and I think a lot of other people did. Hopefully, MJF and Jungle Boy are both future, not only AEW World Champions, but AEW TNT Champions. Because after this match, we had the first ever AEW TNT title match, the finals of the TNT tournament, between Cody and Lance Archer. This was pretty crazy. There was some times Cody could have easily gotten really hurt. It looked like, he got thrown over the ring post, right where the camera is, and they showed it from the ring post camera that just slowly goes to Lance Archer's face afterwards. Just looked kind of creepy. But a lot of people actually, including myself, a lot of people thought Lance Archer had this in the bag. They thought he had all the momentum going in, but I mean, he didn't have enough. But I'll get to it. At one point, Cody hit a DDT right in front of Jake Roberts, and when Lance got up, he hit a spine buster of his own right in front of Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson said it wasn't bad, wasn't half bad, but yeah. And then Arn Anderson tried help. He did help Cody a little bit. He pushed when Lance Archer was going for the old school moonsault thing that he does. When he went all the way around to two different corners, or three, I think technically, and Arn Anderson pushed him down, and Paul Turner, I think that's his name, came out and told Bryce that happened. He kind of told him, and freaking Mike Tyson, he also told him. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm kind of upset about that. But for some reason they took both Arn and Jake out. But Jake came back with a bag that you would assume had snakes in it. He was gonna do something to Cody, but then Iron Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet, came up and he was ready to fight Jake Roberts, but Jake Roberts backed off. And Lance was distracted by that, but then he went for Lance went for what I forget what he calls his finisher, and he went to his finisher on Cody, but Cody reversed it into a crossroads, and he hit him with two crossroads, and he got the pin. And Cody Rhodes is our first ever TNT champion. A lot of people really don't like the design of the TNT Championship. I don't think it's terrible, but it's not great right now. But to my relief, Tony Schiavone did say it is not finished yet because of the pandemic. It still has to get some gold plating on it, and you could kind of see where it's going to be. There's some engravings on the title, but I do think the title will look nice soon when they're done with it. I think it'll look really nice. It has a lot of potential. I get NWA Television Champion vibes from it, and I think it'll turn well. A lot of people are comparing it to the 24/7 champion, which I could see the comparison because of the big TNT logo, as you could probably see in the picture. But it's 100 times nicer than the 24/7 championship, I think. And a title like this actually works with a red strap, I believe, unlike the Universal Championship when it had the red strap and it just had the bland WWE logo. So it's better than that. And it was also controversial when Cody won. People thought it. Well, I'll talk about Hayden specifically. He seemed pretty mad. He's not here right now because we have complete opposite sleep schedules. But yeah, he was pretty mad too. But it wasn't just him. He thought it killed a lot of uh, Lance Archer's momentum. He came in looking like a complete monster, but just got beat by Cody. They were saying he got Sean speared, which I don't believe. Lance Archer, he has a lot like ahead of him. I don't think he's near done yet. He's like 43. That's kind of old, but I'm pretty sure Chris Jericho is 49 or 50 right now, and he was world champion. I think Lance Archer could go for another 5 to 10 years, and I think Lance Archer is a future AEW world champion. So I don't think there's anything to worry about. This is not going to kill his momentum. Trust me when I say this. He's going to come back. I don't even think this feud with him and Cody is over. Just because Cody beat him in this match doesn't mean it's going to be over already. But this was a pretty good match. And of course, you would want to have Cody as your first ever TNT champion. You want to have a recognizable name, a prestigious name as your first ever champion. Lance Archer is like, he's not as big as Cody, so it's kind of like the same thing they did with Chris Jericho. They wanted to put on a big name, you know? So, Cody Rhodes is your first ever TNT champion. And then we moved on to Shawn Spears versus Dustin Rhodes. Shawn Spears came out in a suit, not ready to wrestle. And he said that Dustin Rhodes is not here. He is gone. He's retired. And he's not going to face him. He did that. He said that after his music played and he messed with us. And then the music played again after he started talking a bunch of trash. And Brandy Rhodes came out saying he's not here. He's not here. I thought Dustin Rhodes was the cameraman, but instead Dustin Rhodes came out behind the cameraman and he was here. And he was ready to fight Shawn Spears. Now this part of the show, I mean, it was comedic. It was fun, but it was definitely the worst part of the show. I kind of wish Shawn Spears was taken a little more seriously. I hope this doesn't like mess him up in any way. I don't think he's buried or anything, but basically, Dustin Rhodes stripped him to his underwear and his socks. He had his socks on, okay, which had like I forget what they were called, but they were like suspenders for his socks. And Dustin Rhodes beat Shawn Spears all around the ring and exposed his underwear that had I don't know how to say this. It had Tully Blanchard on his crotch. He had Tully I can't even, this is so hard to say. I don't know this is embarrassing, just for me to say. Shawn Spears had Tully Blanchard on his crotch. That should be a quote that should be forever remembered. But Dustin Rhodes, as I predicted, beat Shawn Spears. The way they were doing it, I felt like they were kind of hyping up someone new coming out, a new debut coming out, which I was thinking maybe Drew Gulak. But at first, when Spears came out, I thought, because he always had this thing with him looking to find a partner, I thought maybe he found his partner. Maybe his partner is Drew Gulak, and Drew Gulak is gonna come face Dustin Rhodes. But no, that didn't happen, and I was kind of sad when nothing special happened except for, you know, Shawn Spears getting stripped. That wasn't very special. It was kind of upsetting, you know. But after this, we had a big announcement for the next AEW pay-per-view, which is All Out. There's no location announced because they don't know if they'll be able to have it at a stadium with fans or not at this point. But All Out will take place September 5th. So look forward to that. Should be fun. Last year's All Out was pretty good. Um, we crowned the first ever AEW champion. So wonder how special it'll be this time. Maybe FTR, Fear the Revolt, will debut there. Who knows? I kind of thought they would debut tonight. Well, not tonight, yesterday at this point. But I kind of thought they would debut then, but they unfortunately did not. And I got my Fear the Revolt shirt. I got it the same day as Double or Nothing, surprisingly. So I thought maybe it was a sign. I thought maybe it was a sign that I would like see FTR on TV today. But no, unfortunately not. I guess they're going to try and make it more special. Maybe they'll wait for fans. Who knows? But yeah, look out for All Out September 5th. Get it on BR Live, Fight TV, possibly your cable provider. So it should be fun. And then we moved on to Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose in a no disqualification match for the AEW Women's World Championship. This was a pretty decent match. Nothing like too insane, but it was a lot of fun. Hikaru Shida like murdered Nyla Rose with a kendo stick. She broke her kendo stick that she found, and she said something about getting her kendo stick back and said bitch after, kind of taunting Nyla, like how Nyla attacked her with it, said found your kendo stick, beep. But yeah, towards the end of the match, Shida like broke the kendo stick across her face, which I thought was pretty cool, I guess. But Hikaru Shida is our new AEW Women's World Champion. I did not expect this at all, to be honest with you. But I am perfectly happy with it. I think Hikaru Shida should have a very, very, very long reign. I think she should maybe be the longest reigning champion that we have so far. Maybe have like, I'd be fine with her keeping the title for the rest of 2020. Maybe beyond the rest of 2020. So yeah, that was pretty good. Got a new AEW World Champion, so I'm looking forward to where they go with that. Uh, okay, I missed something, so I'm going to talk about it right now. I don't know if it happened after this match or before it, but I will talk about it right now. It's not much to talk about, but I think it did happen after this match, so I guess it all works out. Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. It was originally supposed to be Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander, but unfortunately, Britt Baker suffered an injury, and she will be on Dynamite this week to talk about it and say how severe it was and how long she'll be out. But it's nothing special. The match, it was alright. Chris Statlander won with their Big Bang Theory. That's what she calls it, I'm pretty sure. If I had to assume, our next title feud for the Women's Championship will probably be Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander going at it. I would have thought it would have been... the plans probably were Britt Baker and Chris Statlander, or Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida for the title feud next, but that they definitely have to scrap that if that was the plan. But after this, we had the self-proclaimed AEW World Champion, Mr. Brody Lee versus John Moxley. Now they came out, they had a bunch of security splitting off the ring so they didn't fight right away. But this was a very good match. They went back and I guess I can't really say back and forth. Brody Lee did control 75% of the match. He he was impressive. So, like if you forgot how good Brody Lee was, formerly known as Luke Harper, you should have been reminded today, I think, or yesterday. So it was a nice finish too. Uh, John Mox or Brody Lee had Mox out of the ring, trying to powerbomb him. I'm pretty sure, and Mox decided to get out of that. He wasn't having it. All right, so he hit him with a paradigm shift onto the stage, with which broke. So they both went through the stage. It was like a pretty nice spot. They were in there for. I thought they were gonna like just call the match off there, so they didn't have like a definitive winner. And Mox looked. Neither of them looked weak in the loss, but Mox came out first, and it took Brody a little bit, but he got up and he was bleeding. I'm assuming he bleeded. I don't think it was real blood, or it was real blood, but I don't think it was like. I don't think they did the hard way. But and then they got in the ring, and Mox choked out Brody Lee. He didn't tap out. He didn't take a pin. He had to pass out, and that's how Mox had to beat him. So he didn't look terrible in defeat. He looked pretty good, and I mean, it didn't necessarily kill his momentum. Even if he did take the pin to Mox, I don't think it would have mattered, because losing to John Moxley is not that bad. But then we moved on to the main event. Main event was the Stadium Stampede match, and my god, it was amazing. So the match kicked off with both teams coming out. It started off with the Inner Circle. They came out of the tunnels. They had football style entrances. The Inner Circle came out in all like football gear. They had their own helmet, their own custom jerseys with their name and whatever number they wanted on the back. The the Elite did not come out with any jerseys or any football style stuff, which I mean it would have been kind of cool if they did. The uh, Aubrey Edwards blew a whistle, and then the brawl starts. But there's one person missing who didn't come out during the entrance, and that is Hangman Page. Everyone seemed kind of worried about that, but one person did not, and that was Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega must have known that he had a plan. But there was a huge brawl, and they were all fighting. They all had weapons after charging at each other. And then Sammy Guevara just has this look on his face, alright? He already got ran over by a golf cart. But now he has a horse running at him. Adam Page had a freaking horse that was running at Sammy Guevara. And it was hilarious. The horse was like zooming too. So was Sammy. I mean, he had to, or he was going to get run over by a horse. And he already got run over by a golf cart, so I bet he doesn't want that. So Sammy ran all the way to the back, and he lost Hangman. Well, Hangman lost Sammy. And Hangman was roaming around backstage looking for him, but he couldn't find him. But he did find something, alright? He found a bar. So he stopped and he was cracking open a couple cold ones. But not with the boys, with himself. So Sammy came running back out, and it was him, Jericho, and the Young Bucks. And they were all the way in the Elite's end zone, because each team had their own special end zone. And Matt Jackson climbed the goalpost, the field goal post, and hit him with a moonsault, but it was not enough to get the pin. And then we were in the stands with Santana Ortiz and Kenny Omega, and there was a really nice spot where I'm pretty sure it was Kenny who set up the barricade on these tables, but Santana Ortiz got up on the tables, picked up Kenny for a powerbomb, and threw him on the table or on the barricade, and it looked pretty nasty. It was pretty cool looking though, but that was pretty good. And then Matt Hardy was there too, and Santana Ortiz threw Matt Hardy into the pool that's in the Jaguar Stadium, and Santana jumps in to attack him, but Ortiz says he can't swim. But eventually he got in the pool. Santana Ortiz tried to drown Matt, but when they tried to drown him, he turned it into Matt Hardy version 1 when they pull him up. And as his head's below the water, he comes back with some Matt facts. Then they put him underwater again, and he comes back as broken Matt Hardy again. He uses Santana's body to put Ortiz through a table. Matt also hits Ortiz with a bell to the head, which gave him like a freaking seizure. And then he taped him to a wheelchair, and then threw Santana in a icebox, just like they did to him. Except Santana was actually trapped in here because he put a broom on the handle so he couldn't push it open. And then we're backstage with Jake Hager this time when he's going to search for Hangman, and then he sees his Hangman's horse that he brought, and then he sees the sign for where he assumes Hangman's at because it's a bar, and he goes there and they have a little small drink together, took a sip of a drink, and then they had quite the bar brawl, I guess you could say. They began to fight, and Hangman snapped a pool cue over Hager's back, but it didn't affect him at all. He kind of no-sold it. After a little back and forth, Hager slides Hangman across the whole counter of the bar and knocks everything off the table, just like you would see in like the movies. And he gut wrenches Hangman through a table and gets a count of 2. And then Kenny Omega comes in and smashes a bottle of champagne. I think it was a little bit of the bubbly over Jake Hager's head, but it barely affected him again. And then they both Hangman and Kenny smashed a little bit of the bubbly over his head, and he started to get staggered a little bit. And then Kenny Omega hit a V trigger on Hager. Then Hangman hit a buckshot lariat off of Kenny's back to propel himself over, just like he would do with the ropes, just with Kenny's back. And then Kenny and Hangman had a little bit of a drink, but Kenny is not a drunk, so he had milk. And I'm pretty sure Hangman got a little bit of milk in his drink. But then we went back to the Bucks and Jericho and Guevara, they sex gods. And Matt does a Northern Lights suplex from the inner circle end zone all the way to the elite end zone. So that's 100 yards of Northern Lights suplexes. So while all this is happening, Chris Jericho throws Nick Jackson into one of the Jaguars' heads. It was like their Jaguars logo, and there was like a big head. And he threw it into it, and then he hits a Judas effect on the Jaguars' mascot. I forget his name, but it's like DeVille or something like that. That's the last name of it. That's all I remember. And then he hits Nick with Floyd, his baseball bat, and gets a count of 2. But then he challenges the play against Aubrey. She was the ref. And they went into the tent and checked it out, and the ruling on the field stands. And he argued with Aubrey Edwards for a little bit there. Matt Jackson then finishes his suplexes, because they were still going on, and does an Alex Wright dance and gets flagged for excessive celebration and super kicks Rick Knox. Matt makes his way over to Nick and Jericho, where they put Jericho on a table. Then Nick Jackson ran up the steps. He was in like the stands, and Jericho was on the field, but he ran up the stands to get a little bit of momentum, which, I mean, it was kind of slow. But he ran all the way down, he jumped over and hit a nice splash onto Chris Jericho through the table. And then, out of nowhere, Hangman comes out with the line marker and marks Jericho with a white line. I don't know, I'm using like my hand to like demonstrate how it all went down, but you guys can't even see me. But then Guevara was knocked out from the Northern Lights suplexes, and he got up thinking he won for some reason. And then he turned around because there was a little rev of an engine, alright? And it was none other than Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy in a golf cart. Sammy Guevara gets away from the golf cart, he runs away and jumps into the stands. Guevara begins to choke Matt Hardy, and then we heard a drone, alright? But Vanguard 1 is no longer with us. But it was none other than the newly and improved drone that he has called Neo 1. Master New Drone came out and distracted Sammy for Kenny to hit a V trigger, and then he picked up Sammy and hit a one-winged angel from like high up in the steps all the way through whatever was on the bottom. It was like a bunch of boxes. It looked like, honestly, and he pinned Sammy Guevara for the win. This match was very crazy. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I had no notes down for this, and it really sucked. And my friend, he's in Broforce, but you guys, he's not. He hasn't been in any videos. WWE on Instagram. I'll link his Instagram down below. He went back and he rewatched the whole entire match, and I'm looking at one, two, three, like four, three full messages on Instagram. Give me like the main stuff that happened in the match, because I tried doing this earlier and I could not remember a single thing because there was so much that went on in this match. That's how crazy it was. I was so mad when this show was over. But I got 4 out of 9 predictions right. I'm not sure which ones I got right. I just know how many I got right. I'm pretty sure Hayden only got 3. So I kind of won these predictions here. So, I mean, I'm the champion of predictions now. Even though I only got 2 for Money in the Bank. But I did a lot better this time. You guys probably, like, if you guys are actually watching these videos, you guys are probably really going to be able to tell I much more enjoy talking about AEW than Raw or SmackDown. You can probably tell from the length of these videos, but it's true. I do. AEW, I think, is one of the best shows, best wrestling shows we have right now. It's definitely the most entertaining for me, at least. So, I mean, me and Hayden switched Raw and SmackDown, but I can guarantee you, me and Hayden are never going to switch from AEW. But we have a lot to look forward to in the coming weeks of AEW Dynamite. We have a new debut with Brian Cage, who now will be able to face Jon Moxley. We don't know when. It's rumored that it'll be at Fyter Fest. But then we have the Elite. They beat the Inner Circle. So what happens next? What happens after that? Best Friends are number 1 contenders for the Tag Team Champions, right? So there's a lot going on. We have a new TNT champion, which isn't done, so we're still going to be seeing like updates to that title on the daily. We have a new women's champion. This was a crazy show. So I hope everybody watching enjoyed it, because it was a rough week in wrestling, and it's been just a rough few months in the world in general. But especially in the wrestling community this week, we had some bad times, I guess. So it's always nice to have wrestling here when we need it, and it's always good wrestling when we do need it. So just be thankful and have some fun watching wrestling, even if there's bad things going on. It's a nice distraction for those who are like really affected from it. So if you made it this far, I've said it before, I've said it every time, consider subscribing. I think the next video coming out is just gonna be the Raw review, and I think we're gonna be doing our tier list video. Alright, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say this right now, but we've already recorded it, but 30 minutes of the recording got lost, so we have to re-record that 30 minutes. So that should be out by Wednesday, I believe, if we do that soon. But yeah, it's gonna be fun in wrestling, especially AEW with all this new stuff going on. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing, give us a like, and this has been your AEW Double or Nothing review.